I wanted to show off how I protect my equipment while I'm out hiking and how I don't do it. Because I see a lot of different videos with a lot of different perspectives and I wanted to show mine as well. What do you need to protect your radio against while you're out hiking? There's one very obvious thing, which is the weather. Rain, wind, mud, snow, whatever kind of weather. And that's why many people go for these pelly cases, because they are waterproof. But this one is also waterproof. The backpack is rainproof for any kind of rain I've ever met here in Western Norway, where we get some extreme amounts of rain. It also has an extra rain cover that you can put on if you need it. So the first layer, which is weather and waterproofing, is already taken care of here. There are some exceptions. For example, if you fall in a lake, this one will not protect you. This will. The next level is shockproofing. Pelly case and the aluminum case will also, of course, protect you against that. This one you can drop off a mountain and it will probably be okay. What I use instead is something like this. This is a very simple and lightweight plastic container. It is extremely rigid. I cannot bend it like this. It weighs 100 grams or so. Very lightweight. It is waterproof to a degree. You can put this out in the rain and the radio will not be wet. But there will get moisture in there. So it's not waterproof. But it does protect you against the most important things, which is, for example, you falling and landing on the backpack. This one will protect you against most of these incidents. Not all of them, but most of them. It will also protect the radio from being scratched. For example, if you just dumped it directly into the backpack. I see a lot of people are packing their radios in pelly cases, like this one. This belongs to the radio club here. It's a Digipeater, and it's meant to be rugged. This case alone, when it's empty, probably weighs more than my radio. And I am not very happy of carrying extra unneeded weight up to a summit. For some things, like this one, it's a disaster preparedness Digipeater. It has to be secure. It has to be able to be thrown in the back of a car, driven somewhere, and used in some extreme conditions. And my radio does that at times as well, but it doesn't have to be that, and it's not the standard case. So for me, this one is way too heavy. It does protect your radio, there's no question about that. This one will protect your radio against almost everything. But almost everything doesn't happen when you're out hiking, at least if you're doing precautions. Another option that I've seen is something like this one, a big aluminium crate. And this is more for like field, like for example a field day when you're packing a lot of equipment, and it's not as heavy since it's aluminium, but it's still heavier than it needs to be. When I'm out hiking for anything that's a day trip, then I usually use either this backpack, which is a 44 liter or 11 gallon backpack, just a standard modern synthetic backpack. And this is what I use to carry all of my equipment in. I got my antenna mounted on the side, or at least the mast. I got clean room for clothes and food and whatever inside. And I got a compartment on the bottom that I use either for a backpack for very short overnight trips or for storing my radio equipment. And for longer hikes I have a bigger one of these, which is 110 liters. And for the extremely short hikes I have a very small one where I don't have room for example, food or any extra clothes. Let's have a look at what's in this box. As you can see, it's a generic plastic container. You can buy them in any store. Different sizes for different kinds of radios. I had a different one for my Segu G90 and another different one for my X108 Golf, and both of them lasted for years of operation. So this one I just picked up at the local store. Latches on the side here to keep the lid on. I do prefer these latches. There are some that are just hinged and molded into the plastic. Those have a tendency to break after a while, maybe after a year or two of a lot of use. So this is a better option. Those can break as well, of course, but this is a box that cost me about $4 or so. In here I have cut up some sponges. It's the same material that you will find in these ones, just cheaper. As you can see, I haven't gotten that much room in here, but I do have room for the most important parts, which is the radio, it's the battery, it's the microphone, and the battery cable for the radio. Those are the things I like to protect the most. And I could have gone with a bigger back box, but this one fits perfectly in my backpack. And this layout, it doesn't protect the radio completely from scratch protection, but it's not a huge problem either. So I got my cable, just the one that comes from CIEGO, and I put on a EC5 connector. I got my microphone here. I changed the microphone wire. This is one of the problems with the CIEGO ones, that they use the standard LAN cable connectors here, and these tabs tend to break off. I also got a battery, a boost starter, mentioned that many times before, and then I got the radio. And as you can see, I have some extra protection here because it has a BNC plug that protrudes from the radio. So I can just take this one out and it's like this. When I want to operate, put the lid back on, and then I have a nice little table to operate my radio from. Now I'll show you a bit about how I protect my equipment while I'm out hiking here in Western Norway. And yeah, it's worked fine so far. There may be situations where this is not enough, and I'm fully aware of that. But for most scenarios, this is more than enough. And I've never broken a radio here, even with some quite severe falls and everything. What I did do was actually to injure my legs or my knees, because I carried too heavy. I carried like 5 or 10 kilos extra, which I didn't need. And that is a much bigger risk to destroy your neck, your back, or your knees than to destroy your radio. So just my take on things. Hope it was useful. Have a nice day. 7-3.